Thank you so much. Finally someone talked about this, because most people explode only on the bottom of the movement and get a little loose on the top, which is the opposite of what they should be doing. This tip is so helpful. Just pull harder on top, not on bottom. Great video. I got my muscle up around a week ago and I wish I'd seen this video earlier. Yeah, thank you so much for your comment, and I will show you what he's speaking about. So when you're doing your muscle up, it's tempting to pull 100% from the bottom position to here, but in reality, what we want to do is we want to pull slower in the beginning and then exploding from here. So a little bit slower to about 90 degrees and then 100% power, because that will make it easier for you to transfer over the bar and also have a better bar path. Because otherwise, if you're pulling from 100% from the bottom, your legs will flare out a lot and it's easier to get stuck under the bar. And if you pair that with good timing, like you don't want to pull too early, so if you're pulling a little bit later, slower in the beginning and then exploding up, your muscle up will become easier, you will have a better bar path. And yeah, so right now I have my first bodyweight muscle up, and it's not always easy to see, but this is what I will do here. So I will pull a little bit later in the swing. The optimal way to pull is when you're about parallel with the poles, with the bar, and then a little bit slower and then explode over the bar. Okay, so I'm using 70% of my power until here, about 90 degrees. And from here, I'm exploding up over the transition. So this is one way of doing the muscle up. It's not the only way, but for a lot of you, this technique has clicked. So if you haven't tried it yet, please try it and tell me what you think in the comments. And I want to say thank you so much, Phil, for buying me a coffee. And he writes, got my first bodyweight muscle up. Mange tack. That means many thanks. Thanks for your advice. Shoulder with grip and focus on biceps. Also, using gloves that could slip was key. I couldn't twist my grip in the transition and so my arms stayed stuck low. Yeah, I'm so happy for you, Phil, and that you could implement all these tips and that they finally got you your first bodyweight muscle up. So I'm so happy about that. And if you also feel that my tips have helped you in your muscle up journey and want to support me in a small way, you can always buy me a coffee. I leave a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page in the description below. And I appreciate all your support. Yeah, and we have a similar comment here. I always pull with 100% from the start, and then I have problem with transition and can't throw the chest over the bar. Yeah, and that's so true. And as I answered the previous question, your muscle ups will become so much easier if you're pulling like 70% in the beginning and then explode with 100% when your elbows are at 90 degrees. I will continue doing that with my warm-up muscle up with 2 kilos. So pulling slower at the bottom position and then exploding over the transition when elbows are about 90 degrees. Hey Mike, what do you think is the best way to arrange a session that is only dedicated to muscle up attempts? Do you just hop into it, or do you do any variations before you attempt an actual muscle up? Yeah, thank you so much for your question. I actually do a lot before I attempt my first bodyweight muscle up. So I will walk you through my warm-up. I will show you short pieces of each warm-up exercise that I think can benefit you as well, to avoid any unnecessary injury in your muscle up journey. So this is one of my favorites. I grab the thinnest resistance band, loop it around the bar, and then do this for about 10 to 15 reps on each arm. It's really good for warming up the shoulder in different positions, warming up the rotator cuff. And then I'll do a few shoulder dislocates, also with resistance bands, around 10 to 15 reps, or till I feel warmed up. So another warm-up that I like, that is actually one of my favorites but looks kind of weird, is that I just do this for my forearms, biceps, in front of my shoulders and triceps, and I feel this creates really good blood flow and really warms up the important areas for the muscle up. So I'll do this for a while on both arms, and then I spend some time hanging, just a few seconds, warming up my shoulders, stretching out my pecs, biceps, and then another warm-up favorite. So I have two kilo plates, and I'll do like random movements where I feel it's most needed for the day. So it can be warming up the back of my shoulders, or just doing arm circles with weights, like with light weights. I feel is really good for a warm-up. and also doing small arm circles, just moving the arms in different directions, creating a little bit of a blood flow, and yeah, just feeling what I need for the day and how much I need for the day, because that can vary as well. And then I usually keep these weights for doing a few wrist rotations, warming up the wrist as well. And because I don't have like a static protocol for my warm-up, I just go by feel and what I need for that day. And when my general warm-up is done, I move on to the second part of my warm-up, which is warming up with resistance bands. So I usually start with the purple one. And I always recommend that you warm up your muscle ups with lighter bands before your working sets, to wake up your body, to wake up your explosive strength, and to see if there's any parts of your body that you need to spend more time on warming up. And also focus on the right technique, so you get that embodied before your heavier sets and heavier reps. Hey Mike, I really appreciate your great videos. I've noticed one of my problems is my wrists blocking my transition because I struggle to rotate them through the transition. Any advice? Thanks. So when you're starting out your muscle up journey, I always say that you don't want your wrists to stick on the bar. So I won't recommend using chalk if you're not purposefully training for the so-called iron wrist muscle up, where you really don't move your wrists at all. But in the beginning I won't recommend that, so make sure you can rotate your hands freely around the bar. If you can't rotate your hands freely, if you feel that they stick on the bar, I would recommend using some kind of gloves. Sorry for the wind, guys. So these are just thin cotton gloves. No matter if the bar is sticky or not, I can rotate my hands freely. And this will help me in the transition. But if you don't want to use gloves and the bar is sticky, you just have to think about loosening the grip a little bit in the transition. You're pulling up and then you have to loosen the grip just a little bit. That can be hard in the beginning. That's why I always recommend just make sure you can rotate your hands freely. You don't want the bar to be like very slippery, but somewhere in between, you know? So you can do this. Hope that helps. Alright guys, the objective for my workout today is doing about, I think, 4 to 5 sets with like 70% of my 1 rep max, which is about 5 kilos, focusing on form, technique and explosiveness. And I would always recommend filming your muscle up attempts from this angle. It's the most honest angle, and then you can also see what you need to work on more clearly. Okay, I pulled a little bit too early and that's why I almost got stuck under the bar. Next time I will pull a little bit later. Okay guys, in this attempt I will pull later in the swing, and probably it will be a very different transition. Yeah, much easier. As for my experience, I've been trying to get the muscle up around a month and a half ago, and I would say the two things that help me the most are weighted pull-ups, because they develop my explosive pull-up since I feel lighter without the weights. I kept doing explosive pull-ups, then started kipping since I'm still new to it, until I eventually got it with a kip and hard pulling. I'm 92 kilos and 187 centimeters tall. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, and congratulations on your great progress and on your first kipping muscle up. That's a great milestone. Hey, thanks to your advice, I reached my cleanest muscle up even with thick bar a couple of months ago. I have uploaded my video on YouTube. I will check it out. I quitted training, but I will get back on my new objective. Yeah, congratulations on your muscle up, and especially on the thick bar, it's even harder. So that's great, and I will definitely check out your YouTube video. Thanks for your comment. Hey Mike, I've never tried the weighted explosive pull-up before the muscle up. I've only done weighted wide pull-ups for reps. I think your way is more applicable to the muscle up, as they are both explosive movements with similar hand and arm movements. Thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot for your comment, Devin. Yeah, this is a way of training I mentioned in my last video. And what I failed to mention is that it's called contrast training. It's a really good way to get more explosive. So basically you just do 1 or 2 really heavy pull-ups, wait 2 to 3 minutes, and then do your muscle-ups. So Google contrast training and try it and tell me what you think in the comments. Let's take a look at a rep from this angle as well. And note to self, pull later in the swing. Right, 1 more rep. Okay, so what I will think about during this rep is, as usual, pulling later in the swing and also throwing my chest forcefully over the bar. So every time I do a muscle up, not every time, but a lot of times, I'm trying different small technique changes to see if anything feels better or easier or anything like that. So for this rep, as I said, pull later in the swing and throw my chest forward forcefully. And yeah, the throwing your chest forward forcefully part really makes a difference, because then you're not only using your arms for everything, you're using your arms but also your core to transfer over the bar. But I would say just keep it simple. You don't want too many cues, too many tips. And if you want my tips emailed to you in a structured list with videos, you can download my free muscle up technique checklist. It's in the description below, and it will really help you be reminded of the muscle up technique before every muscle up workout so you don't forget anything.